Hi, I'm Marilyn Milner, and today I want to talk to you about immigrants, specifically African American immigrants. How many of you would consider yourselves to be immigrants? Probably not, because when you think of the word immigrant, you think of people coming from a different country or a different region over into another country or a different region. But in reality, I'm an immigrant. I was born in the rural states of Mississippi. My family migrated to Ohio in the early 1960s in search of better economic opportunities and education. And I would consider my family's large, but I would consider us a great migration. But there was a great migration. Immediately following World War I, 750,000 African Americans left their homes in the South and traveled to cities in the North in search of freedom. And these black immigrants, they would change the world. They would create a diversified culture, and they would leave behind works of art, sculpture, literature depicting their African heritage. Now, initially, this movement was referred to as the Negro Movement or the Great Migration. In an article, Great Days of Harlem, written by Rowan and Bruner, they referred to as the coming of age because it happened during the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century. The Industrial Revolution propelled the United States into an industrial country, and jobs were plentiful up north in Michigan, Chicago, New York, Ohio. And when this news reached those in the South, the laborers and farmers, the Great Migration had begun. Now you can't say they moved on faith. They left the only place they had ever known where their ancestors had came and been born and they had been raised, and they left this area that to go somewhere that they knew nothing about, with just a glimmer of hope, a glimmer of self-expression, freedom, independence. And they converged on Harlem. And you might say, why Harlem? Harlem had already established itself as being a diversified place of culture. There were immigrants from the Jewish, Irish, and Italian descendants. And they felt that they had a commonality with these other immigrants. And they actually did. There's a first-hand account in a 1943 bestseller by Vincent Oatley, a black writer, entitled A Coming of Age. And he said that this limited area in Harlem gave African Americans self-pride and freedom, where they could express themselves in their art, literature, music, poems. And because of this self-expression, a lot of French-born African Americans that came into Harlem. And at that time, James Weldon, he was a prominent African American lawyer and poet. He renamed the Negro movement, the Great Migration, he renamed it the Harlem Renaissance, because he felt Renaissance means rebirth, renew, start over, fresh, alive. And he felt that this depicted what the African Americans were feeling, what they were gaining, their independence after so many years of being in the South and being under someone else's domain. He felt that they finally were able to express themselves, to do what they truly wanted to do, to express their heritage without fear or persecution. Critic and teacher Alan Locke, he spoke of this as a spiritual coming of age, of group expression, self-determination. For the first time, African American artists, poets, writers, singers, dancers could express themselves and their African heritage in the way that they chose. And they would leave some of this for us to share, to experience, to enjoy. Because for this, African Americans, they had truly came of age in this time of the Harlem Renaissance.